So we got the meetup today. It is the last meetup of the year. I think we said that last time, but it's just a marketing ploy. This is the real one. I don't think we can have any more. I leave on Friday, but it'll be the last meetup of the year. It'll be a good way for people to get some really good info and take all this momentum. I think these meetups and going to these things bring you a lot of momentum. Take this, get all the momentum from here, take it, run with it, and go into the new year and take as much action as possible and make as much money as possible and have all the momentum in the world and let that carry us throughout the year. I'm super excited.
Pull a Gerald Rojas and talk to the old woman for 8 hours a day.
Yeah. That's when he first started out.
Gerald Rojas legitimately had 3 different sellers that he was babysitting. He was talking to each of them like 4 to 5 hours a day. Like something crazy. I was like, Gerald, what the fuck are you doing? I think he only got 1. He may have gotten 2 of them. Like he may have just done it and just schmoozed his way in there. But like, we gotta talk to a lot of people. Like it's a numbers game. Don't pull a Gerald Rojas and talk to the old woman for 8 hours a day. Like the vast majority of loan modifications, it's just going to come right back to you. And even if it doesn't, hey, good on you. Mm-hmm. And then you put them in a better spot. Mm-hmm. But like when you're reaching out to pre-foreclosures, it's more of a position of help. Like you're just reaching out like, hey, how can I help you? Either we're going to get you money before you lose the house, we're going to get you a loan mod, we're going to do something instead of the bank taking the house and you don't get any money.
Yeah.
What's that timeline you were saying? Like they called you a week before, it's too late. What is enough cushion?
Well, because when it's an auction, so with that one, it could have been done if it was a different situation. Mm-hmm. This situation is that the daughter was living in this house. Her mom passed away 10 years ago, and so the loan was still through with the mom. And so when you talk about calling the bank and trying to find out how much you're behind, well, they can't tell us any information because we need authorization from the mother for them to give us any information, but the mother's dead and there's not been probate. Yeah. There's no fucking way it's getting done.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like,
it'll take a lot.
It'll take a lot. Like, you should have did probate. Like, you know what I mean? Like, the house should have been in your name a long time ago. Because at that point, then we could have reached out to the bank. We could have made it current. We could have stopped the sale. And then we could have figured out something at that point. But since we can't get mom to give us authorization to get the information within a week, you know what I mean? Now you're in someone else's hands with the court and really getting that stuff out to you. And there was nothing I can do for them. And I was so upset that they waited that long to get a hold of me when they could have been helped. But their ego and their pride of ownership and all this shit kept them from reaching out and asking somebody for help, and they end up losing it. So I just harassed the fuck out of them. Mm-hmm. Like, I know it's an unfortunate situation, and I'm here to just be the best value that I can be to you. It may not be buying the house. Maybe it is doing a loan mod, right? Maybe it is, doing a sub-2 type deal. Like, it doesn't have to be me buying it. Because if I do my job, at some point, whatever got you into this situation, that the habit didn't get fixed, you'll be right back. Mm-hmm. And I gave you a great service, so you'll come to me to buy it.
Yeah, too much of a warm lead. Like, it's one thing you gotta know, right? Because like if someone ever said, well, my house has a code violation, you're like, it's a fucking deal. Mm-hmm. Right? So if you already know it has a code violation, you're pretty much calling in to warm stuff. Some other people may be hitting them, but at least you know there's actual pain points. Like when you're doing pre-foreclosure stuff,
there's pain points.
Bro, it's pain points. Like that person's already a warm lead. We already know there's a timeline with that bitch. I mean, there's a timeline that they have to sell by, or they're gonna lose their home. Mm-hmm. So you're already dealing with something that's already ready to go.
You follow me on this equity, all those lists, you've already skip traced some of those, but once you start compiling those lists together, instead of skip tracing.
The fucking statuses of the homes don't change that much. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't pull the same shit all the time unless it's like pre-foreclosure. Pre-foreclosure, let's update that consistently. Or really niche stuff from like the county, let's update that consistently. Everything else, the odds of them selling is kind of low. Like I think like 1% of the overall market share changes. Like I may be wrong. But we want to update our courthouse and niche stuff consistently. Besides that, let's not do anything else. And if you are pulling the list and you already have it, just don't skip trace it again. Just call them again. Like if they're on it, because I'd come up with a system like, oh, tally mark. Those motherfuckers are still there. We know they have to sell at this point, right? Like whatever that is. But I wouldn't pull the same data over and over and over again and target, because at that point you're just burning $500 a month. Mm-hmm. That doesn't make any sense.
We're gonna try to get like request on the county, and they weren't sure what I was talking about. So
That's it. You may want to wait till the end, and Mike will sit down with you because it's just like a process.
It's a process. So
pretty easy when you tell me
another
about it.
process that I do is because Jason said I can literally give you the system and how I do this shit, and only 1% of you will ever do it. So from that point, I fucking did it because I'm like, I'm not going to be 99.9. You know what I mean? I'm that 1% right here. You know what I mean? So it is a process, though. It's definitely a process. I've gone on and off with it just because it takes consistency in order to do it. But once you get it down and you start putting people in place to kind of take each step of that, you'll be good. So I'll kind of tell you a little bit like what to do
okay, awesome.
afterwards, just because I don't want to bore everybody else with that one process.
Okay, for sure. Sounds good. And I also wanted to ask, right now I'm pulling my list of like Propstream, and I'm not sure how to be consistent. Like, let's say like I pull like a list of 600 people. I'm not sure, like I'm just trying to pull like a list of like tired landlords. So I'm not sure if I should just kind of keep this thing similar, just because like I don't want to be pulling the same list over and over. Like, do you guys have like specific strategies you guys use?
We partner with people sometimes when we buy lists. I send people lists. We've spent like almost $8,000 as, you know, 2 or 3 of us will spend like $8,000 on data, and I'll turn around and I'll sell it to someone for $2,000. You know what I mean? We will pay like 15 cents or 12 cents or 10 cents for the data or whatever, or whatever the price is, and I'll break it in packages of 40,000 records, and I'll just sell them at like 10 cents a record.
So, for what you're trying to accomplish,
not the wrong way, right? And so just like your energy and stuff like that, like that's 100% like what Dean is, and I think that's an awesome fit.
You also know me?
Yeah, you do.
See if it.
He's in La Jolla though.
Where?
He's in La Jolla.
Like based out of La Jolla?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
well, you don't have to move down.
Yeah, I'm down
They
there.
do stuff from
Here in Central Valley, Fresno, like focusing on my health, which like everybody else, I'll get to it in a little bit. When I was walking, that's when a lot of my creative juices like really flowed in the morning.
as well.
On one of the podcasts, I heard someone say like, you get out there before all the hypocrites wake up, right? All the people who say they want to be successful but they're still asleep,
Yep.
and you get out there and you hear all the birds chirping, and it's real quiet, and it's wild how peaceful and how creative I was in the morning walking.
Yeah.
So that's something that I would highly
I
recommend.
already get up at 4. I should go on the walk.
And then I sat on a couch for 3 months.
No, yeah. Gosh.
Like I couldn't do it. I would melt is the term I use. Like I'd probably end up killing myself if I had to sit on a couch. And
No. Yeah, I'm hoping. There's a lot of creative things I want to do that I was just hoping that by quitting my job, I just like social media. I do. Yeah. I hear Gary Vee in my mind all day long. I'm like, I know Gary Vee.
But
I know
you're like the American dream.
Yeah? Yeah, actually, yeah. I have been pushing for this for a long time.
How
No,
long?
I should. Since I realized real estate was a vehicle to financial freedom. So that's what I really wanted. Really what I wanted was time freedom.
Yeah.
Like that's what I value the most out of anything in my entire life is how I spend my time.
Okay, so what now? You don't spend money.
I know.
I'm just like that's my thought. Like now, like you got all this time now, so
Well, how's it been enjoying it? Don't let them kill your joy.
Yeah, well, it's been 3 weeks. It's been good. I am very driven, so
Real estate is, do you need a license to buy a house and rent it out or
No.
sell it? You don't, right?
License to do it. Unless you wanna-
Cameron's told me I think that I should get my real estate license, but I don't know if it's
don't care what
necessary.
you're
That's why I wanted to ask you guys.
I'm not a big fan of getting a real estate license. I do think once you get it and you learn how to use it, you'll never go hungry again, right? Because it's just another skill.
Yeah.
But if you want to own rentals, then no. I'd say if you want to get a license and you want to use it to make money, awesome. Then you can just have a really, really high paying commission sales job at a point that you're trying to do a business.
With more liability, by the way.
With more liability, right? Like it is, you have to disclose a little bit more. But you can use that to make really big chunks, right? So I can use that to list $1 million home when you make like 30 grand. Right? So you could go make like 30 grand by listing $1 million home. That'd be really good. And then you can use that and you use that money to funnel into buying more rentals. But in order to just I own rentals and I don't have a real a license, and I never plan on getting one.
For sure. Yeah, okay. I was just curious about that.
Questions?
Before
Before like it catches on.
Yeah.
Are you posting it on Instagram too?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's, especially with the mentee program, because can you go nationwide? You said you couldn't, right?
I can't, but I'm gonna start trying in Virginia.
Okay.
I mean, keep it somewhat manageable for me. So what I'm actually looking into right now is putting the
Shout out to me. And he ended up being on like the rookie bigger populace. He was in the military, and he talked about that, like the misconceptions with the VA loans.
Yeah.
And how you have to go bigger, in order to continue to use it.
Yeah.
I can't remember what the
That sounds
was
even
there.
better though.
But it wasn't true, because he's used his like 3 times already.
Yeah.
For like duplexes and stuff like that, and he's just house hacked them.
Yeah.
Because you're always leaving anyway. So he had house hacked it, freaking, and then when he moved, he turned it into a long-term rental, and he just continued to grow it that way. But I started thinking that way too, because I was like, how many people in the military don't necessarily understand or know how to leverage, the benefits of being in the military. So when they're done, you should never see ex-former military homeless on the side of the street. That's one thing I've never understood.
Nah, man, you should have multiple homes.
Yeah.
You should be the opposite of homeless. Have too many.
So lost for a while. I realized I really did. I was used to having my days planned out. So I wasn't an organized person, because I was always told what to do, when to be here, what to do when I got there, how long we were doing it, when the plane was leaving, when we were, going to the stadium, like all that stuff. And so when you stop doing all of that, you find yourself lost, because you don't know what to do with your time, and you don't know how to schedule it.
Yeah.
And so I can see how someone can go work for someone, because it's the structure.
Yeah. Yeah. So and then you get. I have no idea.
What about you?
I don't.
You got your niche, like the military.
I think for
Man, probably. I mean, I get a lot of military clients.
I
bought a
the
goddamn
TikTok is
backdrop.
hard. TikTok is hard.
I hate it,
It's hard.
but
I hate it.
don't know, man. It's awkward and uncomfortable. Everything about it.
We're
Some
getting,
people admire.
we're getting better at it. But I think it's hard, bro. But I mean, it makes you so much money. I'm telling you, with what you're doing, you're gonna make so much fucking money.
you mind me asking what TikToks you do, or
Yeah. I mean,
can I see your account?
yeah. It's
I can meet people, I can build who I am. They feel confident in who I am, so if we ever end up in a situation, I have no fear of not being able to make ends meet.
Yeah.
Because there's a difference between being able to ask someone for $20 and being able to ask someone for $5,000. That was the difference, I think, with me and him, is that I was already married. My wife stayed at home with our 2 kids at the time, so I was the only source of income, and so mixing that with never being lost like that before, because from high school, I was straight to Fresno State. Fresno State, we had a little job. I was applying at law enforcement, got into teaching, so I've always known what I was kind of doing, or I've always been going somewhere. So it's never really bugged me. So then when I wasn't able to pass my CSAT for teaching, which they don't even fucking have you take no more. When I didn't pass that, I think that's when I had my first breakdown. I remember going to the bathroom, and I just remember someone that talked to me when I walked into the classroom, and I kind of felt emotional about it. I was like, what the hell? They just asked what I was about to do for something. I felt emotional. And I went to the bathroom, and I just sat on top of the freaking toilet. I just put my hands on my face, and I just let it all out, because I wouldn't talk to my wife about it, because she's more analytical like you are. And so she'll freak me out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So she wasn't the one I could talk to. So it was just thinking of all this stuff, what are we gonna do? She's pregnant, we're about to da-da-da. And so for me, it was fear. It was, I couldn't, I don't know, there was no other option.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And when you're that way, that's why I believe in order to get somewhere, sometimes there has to be something that you're almost afraid of. And once you start making a little bit more money, your fear is going broke. So that's why rich people work so goddamn hard, because they fear going back there. You know what I mean? You get exposed to so much, there's no way I can go back to what I used to do or what I used to know, because I know that all this is out there. And so I think that's really what drives you. That's why some people buy nice things. Michael Zuber, you're very frugal, right? Michael Zuber doesn't believe in it. He didn't buy a car, he didn't buy nothing. Like, I buy shit sometimes just to put me in a fucking hole.
Medical flaws, being a perfectionist, part of my accountant brain, is a lot of the step 1 through 5 through 10 kind of held me back in the beginning. But once I got that through the hurdle, now I'm basically in the everyday grind. So now I'm trying to shift my focus into goal setting. So just if you guys can recall, right in the beginning of your guys' business, what was that mindset shift, like that kind of like hyper focus you guys to like really focus to take it to the next level per se?
Put fucking food on the table.
Fear.
Yeah, fear.
Like legitimate fear, like, oh my god, it means gonna be homeless, and then we were homeless, right? So like that kicked it in. Now, for people, I was talking to Jake about this, where he said I want to have 1 employee by the end of the year. So for me, like that's worthless. Like that doesn't mean anything to us because I can make $1 million without an employee. The employee is a variable that we don't need. Like, what is the revenue and profit goal that we want to hit? Let's line that out first. All right, what is our revenue goal that I want to hit? How much money do I want to make? And then we work that backwards. Like that's why we talk about tracking your KPIs, because now you've done 2 deals. Now you can somewhat see like what's my trend. But like when I'm setting my goals now, it's just like, okay, what amount of revenue do I see this company being able to do? And now I'm talking about who do I need to hire to go do that for me, and like whatever role that is. But generally, when I'm first getting started, it's like, all right, I want to make this amount of money, and then it's pretty much just banging your head up against a wall for a certain point in time.
Pretty much.
And then like you break through it, and then you're going to start making different goals. But for the most part, I mean, I think you would agree, it's like X amount of revenue.
Yeah. So focus on the X amount and just basically.
Yeah, I want X amount of revenue.
Yeah.
And I want my deal sizes to be this big. And go like we talked about last time. I'm going into and I want all my deal sizes to be $20,000. And if you go into it saying, you know what, I'm going to go negotiate a little bit harder because I'm going to make that 20 grand, that'll help out a lot too instead of having to whip out those 2,500s. Because those hurt. I think those hurt more than anything.
And then take the same amount of work.
And they take more work every time.
Yes, bro. I mean, you used to jump for joy. For myself.
Or handyman work. Or any type of
So you
work
gotta let that
that's
shit
not
go. You
advertised.
spend that time that you got to go find someone to do it. There's plenty of handyman around.
Watch yourself like triple. And that's what we have to start thinking about, like as we like grow these things, right? Like,
Yeah, definitely.
I can be doing all this shit myself and I make more money, cool. But then like, what am I doing with all my day? Like, I don't know if you're a single guy. Like if I was single, I was making $10,000 a month. I'm going to have a good time, right? Going out networking, and all this other shit instead of going and fucking cleaning houses. Like Jesus Christ, bro.
You know,
I don't clean like that, but I'll clean every once in a while.
Right, but I mean, there's no.
Yeah.
My point is like, there's no need for it, especially when the skill is very replaceable.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
If you're already thinking like that, well, you can do as much as you want.
and how I would put that too is the time that you spend doing those things. It may feel like it's a pay cut, but think about what you're replacing that time with. So for me, before COVID hit, yes, I was a teacher and stuff like that, but I still loved what I did. So I pretty much was a long-term sub. They pretty much kept me there in an extra support role. They paid me more than when I was fucking teaching, right? And I didn't do shit. I was just a big dude at a junior high, and kids just didn't fuck with me. Like that's just really what it was. And I got paid good to do it. But when COVID hit, they can't have subs because the teachers weren't even there. So I ain't gonna pay a sub who ain't on site. And so it forced me to really focus on my business a whole lot more. And then from that point, when they asked me to come back, I was like, why would I ever go back? Like when you really think about it, as a sub, you're probably making $170 a day. And it was the biggest joke for me because I was always just like, fuck, I won't get out of bed for $170 a day.
You can put some money in.
$170 a day? And I used to be juiced to get that. You know what I mean? I'm sorry, that doesn't even excite me. Because I know 8 hours out of my day, I know what the fuck that gets me. Just by having that time.
Yeah. 8 hours talking to apartment owners a day. Nothing else but growth. It's time for you to hire someone, bro, by the way. I tell you just to take that pay cut and pay someone like $2,000.
Bro, if you're making 10 G's already, man, you just hire somebody.
I told myself once I hit 10 G's, I'll do that.
Well, here's the thought. You don't even pay for the cleaning fees, and that's all I did. That shit doesn't even come out of my pocket. Once we added the third unit onto there, I was like, okay, well, what's our cleaning fees for that month based off of 8 turns per unit, so 24 turns. It came up to a little bit under $3,000. I'm like, I'll pay someone $3,000 a month to take over the cleaning for all 3 of them, and whatever task I throw onto them. I'm only asking you to be available 11 to 4. And that's if there's a turn that day. So coming up this next week, I think we have 2 turns on Sunday, and then there's like a 6-day window where there's no turns. So it's just, they're gonna be nothing for her to really do.
Hard to keep somebody full time like that.
Huh?
I can see.
But she's still, you evict all these people, so now you go to a short-term rental aspect of it. You're making more money. You don't have to worry about someone tearing your shit up. And it's less headache because the host, your co-host is taking care of everything.
But what I like about that really is the economies of scale. You can do that here.
That sounds like you got molested.
Yeah.
You know, like that's like
Unless they got a money problem.
unless they have a money, right? Unless that person found a really good deal, right? But I mean, think about an apartment complex. How much money are you paying for an apartment complex? It shoots you off $50,000 net a month.
Yeah, that's like 600.
Right? No, you're not paying $1 million. No, you're paying
Like, you know, typical.
that, like selling companies. Like Kyle, right now, if we have a company that's doing $1 million plus a year, and you're making $50,000.
I was just talking to my friend about this. So he could sell his company right now for millions.
Like, why wouldn't you?
Millions of dollars.
You already know how to
And then build another one.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, that's a product in itself. I'll build up a
You know?
freaking.
You could sell it.
Maybe
What's
yeah,
that?
but I mean,
What's
but
that?
yeah, it's incredible.
What's the,
So he has like 3 different ways he does it. He has some of them where he like, no, you bring it all in, you do everything, and then I'll just take 10% for managing it. And when you have economies of scale, it just plugs it into his machine, and it's like nothing changed.
Yeah.
Right, and then the investor, whoever it was, they pay for the house, they pay for the down payment, they pay for all the furnishings. But Kyle tells them, you know what, I'll still get you X amount more on this property anyways. Right, so that's the nice thing about real estate, right? When we talk about it's not scalable. And for someone to come in with no money down, if you have all the knowledge, well, you can fucking do whatever you want. Right? And all reality, Kyle he still had money, but like not a ton of money. And then even when he started like really scaling, he just told them like, no, I'll just manage it for you. Like you pay for the down payment, you pay for the furnishings, and I'll run it. And I want 15%. So at that point, it's a property management company. But he did that. I mean, he makes $50,000 a month net to him.
I'm about to say it is pretty much property management.
Yeah.
But about it, I'm willing to take all the risk in furnishing it myself, right? So now as a co-host or as a manager at that point, I get a percentage of it. So whether that be 15, 20% of whatever the gross profits is. So since you're taking most of the risk, you get most of the rewards. So if this house is grossing $5,000 a month based off of me managing it, getting it booked, taking care of all that back end stuff, I'll make $1,000 off of it. But I have no money into it.
Yeah.
So it's an easy $1,000 because I already have my own houses that I already do the same shit for. I'm just doing it for you now. So you don't have to worry about it because you still work your job and you don't want to deal with it. And for a long-term tenant, maybe you get $1,200 a month. But with the Airbnb, maybe you're getting $2,500 after all the expenses and stuff is said and done. So it makes sense for you.
Yeah.
I do the arbitrage, same with you. Now we take most of the risk because we have a lot of the investment up front. So to fully furnish them, you're looking at somewhere between 15 to 20 grand.
Yeah, for what, 3-bedroom house?
I have 3 and 4 bedrooms.
Yeah, so it's
I was about to say, you may be different just because, well, no, you got houses.
about 4 or 5 grand per room.
Yeah. And so you're taking all that money and then you're investing it in it. You're probably going to take about 9 to 10 months before you get that investment back. And so the play there is that I don't want to be here for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. Like, this needs to be like a 10-year deal for me.
Yeah.
Because now I have leverage, right? You're going to I'll pay you a little bit more in rent. Maybe a renter pays $1,600. I'll pay you $1,825, right? And for them, it's worry-free because we got typically like 6 to 8 turns a month. So your home's getting cleaned 6 to 8 times a month. Whenever you need to come, just let me know. We'll let you in. If you needed to get me out, hey, I have no problem leaving. You know what I mean? You don't have to go through an eviction process or stuff like that because at the end of the day, it's all about your brand. It's all about your company. Like, there's no amount of money that's staying in this house is going to be worth jeopardizing what I've grown.
Yeah.
And so for a homeowner, they love that it's just, I take care of everything. Sometimes I take care of stuff that I probably shouldn't take care of. Like my wife is like, hey, you need to let them know. And I'm like, it's gonna cost like $500 to fix that. And she's like, yeah, but it's over, this amount, let them know. And I'm like, we make a fucking bankroll off this house.
Yeah.
I don't want to fucking call them.
Yeah.
I'd rather just take care of it. You know what I mean? Like, cause I'm thinking long term.
Yeah.
And so with arbitrage, you're taking more of the risk, but you get more of the reward. It also comes down to kind of what you want to do. Like, we talked about it today, kind of like what your goal is in getting into real estate. And that's just different for everybody. Now, if your goal is to ultimately buy you a primary residence, then yeah, you would just link up with a realtor, let them kind of tell you how the market looks like and what's a good buy in whatever area it is.
And then
right, get pre-qualified, do what everyone else do, but if you're looking to get into investing, then at that point you need to learn a market in a sense of understanding the areas, understanding what things go for in areas that you may be interested in. And then from there, a lot of people say you can't get deals off the MLS. I've never necessarily got one off the MLS, but I also know that if you study,
That's not the model.
That's not the model, yeah, 100%. But Michael Zuber's model, as long as you study a certain zip code and you're very specific in what you're looking for, you'll understand when something's been on the market for so long and what you'll be able to make that offer a whole lot faster because you know that area. Whereas most people are still trying to analyze it. If I bought it at this price, you already knew, it was at 200,000. In this area, if I can get it around 170, right? It's been sitting on the market for 100 days. It's got offers, fell out. So now you know that it's been sitting there. You know you need to be on 170. You go make that offer. Well, fuck, it's been sitting there. Now there's motivation there. And now you swooped up on a really good deal because no one else recognized it.
Okay. It's not like I own a property or anything like that, but I heard some people say any deal on a house, because I think I was asking someone that I wanted to find a good deal on a place before I buy one, and they said any deal that's accepted is a good deal. Do you guys have an opinion in that? Because I would think you'd look around for a house that has a good deal to where you could rent it out and have good cash flow coming in and stuff.
I mean, so
That guy had a license.
Yeah, license, sure. I'm like, hey, fuck that.
Or he just thinks you're educated and he says, if it's a deal, fuck it, just buy it. It's a deal, and just move on. So, one thing, anybody only ever talks about their home runs. Nobody talks about the fucking deal we have in escrow that I'm gonna JV with my partner that we have assigned for $2,500 fucking dollars. I have to split that 2 ways.
You don't want those two?
Worthless. It is absolutely, I'm not trying to be a dick. That money is worthless to me. It's not a big hit, right? But then okay, the small deal will still pay my bills and I'll be able to leverage that and go and do something else. So that's what my thing is, right? So okay, yes, it may not be an absolute home run, and we ran into this with our self-storage stuff. I was like, bro, I'm only buying something that is 30,000 square feet, it's in this area, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, Stratton, you're being way too nitpicky. Just buy the fucking deal, get it out of the way, get some momentum going, and then as you gain and get more and more and more, then you can be more nitpicky. So have a certain criteria, but right now we're negotiating on a deal to where it's only 13,000 square feet of storage when my bare minimum was 30,000 square feet. And I wanted my cash flow to be, this thing will probably cash flow fucking $800 to $1,000 a month. Not a lot in the grand scheme of things. And I wanted something that's gonna cash flow me $5. But bro, get it out of the way. And that way you can at least have confidence when you're talking to other people saying, no, I already own one. Right, and then it's weird to say, but now that I own properties, I can say, no, I own some rentals, this is the experience I have, blah, blah, blah. You portray yourself that way over the phone or whenever you're talking to people, and it automatically brings credibility. Because that first one, it just got you into the game.
Yeah.
Right now that we're into the game, we can do whatever we want. And we have more confidence, and you're never gonna keep that bitch anyways. We're in the fucking South. You're in the grand scheme of things. If you're in real estate, you're not gonna keep these little dinky houses. You're gonna be going buying a fucking commercial strip, or you're gonna go buy self-storage, or buy $300 million worth of apartments, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I'd say get your foot in the door, make sure you're not putting yourself in a really bad situation.
That, I don't even own the asset, so how do you get a private money loan on something that you can't even put a secured note on? Well, that all comes down to branding your reputation and what you do, and so by coming to these things and us being able to say, hey, whatever happened to that probate deal you were working on? And he's like, oh yeah, I closed it, I'm working on this other one. You continue to have those type of conversations every time we meet you. Well, shit, he's consistently doing business, so his deal flow should be able to take care of whatever money, I lend him. And I think that just the private money part of it is something that it'll come to you faster than what you would even believe by just keeping your head down and just doing the work.
It was rock bottom. And then he legitimately is just a farmer who has somewhat of a lisp. Right? And he's short. He's 5'5". He's just a 5'5" guy, and he went out and grinded, and then I think he's top 4 most influential people in my life to this point. And he's just a grinder. Didn't have any crazy mentors. Well, now he does. A dude named Nolte, who's worth a lot of money. And that's who lends to him now. Is a guy named Nolte, so he can buy up as much as he wants.
Yeah, it comes to the point if you connect with those people, it's just.
Got into it. I mean, we had Deal Machine and Propstream. You know, I was still at the point. I was still kind of writing addresses down because Deal Machine had kind of just started getting going. You guys were using something else, Property Radar. But as for like the skip tracing and stuff like that, you could only do was it bulk skipping?
Nexus.
No, yeah. So we had to go get a TLO membership.
Yeah, like it was like those little things were like crazy. Whereas now you can like, you know, send bulk text messages and, you know, all the direct mail companies doing the handwritten, you know, the yellow letter type stuff. Like all these different services, literally, they popped up within the last 3 years. Because when I first got into it, I know freaking Deal Machine was like, you know what I mean? Like literally taking them home, exporting them, and then trying to skip trace them on True People Search. I still use it.
I've been using both, bro. Like I don't know.
At a high level though, like that, like it's actually surprising that he acquired so much because he was shooting out deals.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So like just hearing like kind of like those final numbers in a way, it's kind of like, damn, how did he do it?
I mean, he came out right. He got started. So if that was 3 years before me, it's like 2017 at the end. What is that? 2014. So like he got really dove deep into it in 2014. It was like throwing down for those 3 years, like wholesaling 20-unit apartment complexes and raking in some serious checks, and or buying them. Like he owns, I know like 5 rentals over here that he owns. He owns a couple on what is that? Olive, like a 12-unit on Olive, and then another one. And that was all from him pretty much funneling his. He's just like one of the hardest work. He's just a farmer.
Mm-hmm. Joe Tractor.
He's a fucking farmer. Yes.
So
No business background whatsoever.
Or he probably, instead of wholesale, he was allowed as acquisitions into.
Be you. I mean, at that point in time, Alan was making like $200,000-$300,000 a month, and he owned 60 rentals already. All right, so it was
What's
like
Alan's last name again?
Folio.
Folio.
He
Probably never see him.
No.
I'll have him come talking to Meetup. He owns. Was up to like 100 and something and change out here, and then he sold them all down. I think he's like 60 now. He just moved to Florida, and he owns like a couple hundred in Indiana.
So is it bigger than Marcos Uber or Missouri?
He's make money. Well, you can make money for free, and you don't have any overhead, and you can make similar check sizes, like if you're really good at it, right? If you can learn how to approach a door, sell, you're never gonna go hungry again, and you can fucking get a check for 20, 30, 40 grand with some of these big solar deals in California. One of the reasons I didn't do it is because I knew I had the only skill set I ever developed in my life was in real estate. Why would I go down a completely new avenue and try and go down that instead of just kind of like what we talked about? And I was like, well, don't lean into something else. We already have fucking something going. Like, let's lean into that and just let it take us off and ride that instead of going and learning a completely new skill all over again. That was after I left Allen. So I was running 2018, 2019.
Yeah.
I was running Allen was one of the bigger investors here in town, and I was running a lot of his stuff. And they're like, you know what? I want to go out on my own. Like I fucking got this, and I just did it with no savings. So I left a commission sales job. When I'm pretty much because we were handling a lot of other stuff, but it was all commission. And I left that, and I was like, oh yeah, I got this. Whatever, we'll go fucking close a deal. I closed a deal for $5 grand, and I'd close another deal for like 6 months. In that span of time, I had to sell a lot of things, donate a lot of blood, eat a lot of bananas. Right, but yeah.
I mean, you were selling solar at some point.
Because like Jason will go out up there and talk for an hour and a half, but Jason's just pretty much compiling 9 different YouTube videos and then talking about it. Whenever I host anything about anything, it's usually YouTube content that I've consumed, and now I've implemented it in my own business. Now we talk about it. Nothing else will really be that way. I think the biggest thing from this will be thinking bigger and connections you make. Would you really say anything else? I mean, no one was, and like seeing this, like you guys just getting started and seeing her retiring, like it's actually tangible now. You know what I'm saying? Instead of, oh yeah, I heard this on this podcast. It's this one person. They might be real, they may not. They may be lying out of their ass. Maybe you can talk to her like she did it. And that for me, I think is the biggest thing, right? And then you'll eventually make more and more connections. And then if you come to these consistently, and we talked about this last time, and then I press you, and then Mike presses you, and then they press you like, hey, what's going on? How come you haven't done your first deal yet? That's enough pressure to keep you going and stop you from fizzling out. Because that's the number one thing that happens. A bunch of people are just going to fizzle out. We have tons of it's not meant to be rude. We have a ton of people come in and they'll be here for 3 weeks, 6 months, and then they just kind of drop off.
Mhm.
To where you really just got to kind of somewhat push through. I don't know what your journey's been. I know my journey, I was fucking dead broke for a long time. And then it finally happened. Same thing for Mike. And so if you just keep on pushing through and talking to people, I promise it'll work out.
When was that time?
I'm a local investor here, local business owner. We own a couple of different companies. And then, yeah, if you guys have self-storage deals, I'd love to look at them. And I'm looking to do my first slip, all for content this year. So if you guys have any wholesale deals, send them my way. I'd love to look at them and hopefully buy them. I got started because I was a single dad and had to drop out of college. I eventually ended up working for another investor here. And then I ended up running that company, handling most of the day-to-day, and then I eventually broke off on my own. And then over the last couple of years, we started a couple of different companies that did pretty well for us. Yeah.
It's definitely been fun. Real estate, it does sound really good. It is really fun, but it's also, it can drain you sometimes. But it's definitely fucking worth it. And he said not everyone. He said after year 2, people typically fizzle out. And for some reason, maybe that's the sports background in me, but for some reason that really stuck with me. Because whenever things would get kind of difficult or I feel like I'm kind of just plateauing a little bit, I always just thought to myself, this is probably one of those moments where people fizzle out. And I just always told myself that I wouldn't be one of those people that fizzled out after 2 years. And that's kind of really what drives me, to be honest with you, is just not being part of that statistic. But that's like I said, maybe it's the athlete part of it, maybe the competitor part of it, but I didn't want to be that statistic. I was going to fizzle out because shit got hard.
And you run a lean operation from
Real estate investor, do Airbnb, I'm a host, super host. Make sure you claim that, right? Separate yourself. Me and Strang got a podcast together. We both have our own individual podcasts. I got into real estate in 2019. I was a school teacher. I taught special education, mild moderate. We linked up. Basically, we both played football at Fresno State. He's a lot younger than me, but when I got into real estate, I looked up wholesaling, found him. Fresno State football was the one thing that we had in common. So from that point, it was just like I knew him forever. Because I always say in that phase where you go from a boy to a man, there's a lot of shit that only me and him can really relate to, And so getting into real estate, it was one of those things where we both were pretty much brand new. You worked for Alan for a while, but we kind of just kept banging our heads against things and really just try to be a sponge and learn as much as possible. But we're in December now, so I'm going into year 4, and it's been a wild ride, but it's definitely been fun. Damn, year 4. Wow.
I do.
You need to get on Michael's
You're
channel.
like his person,
Yeah, you need to get on Michael's channel. Like that is Michael's.
Literally, he says the difference. He said if everyone went from 1 house to 4 houses, that's enough for
It really is.
for your average Joe. 4 rental properties. Once it's paid off, you're looking at $1,500 a month, $6,000 a month. That's more than any retirement you'll get from those jobs after 30 years. So that's awesome. That's what you do.
$1 million worth of real estate. But that's numbers are off, but just reference. So now you can take an NFT that represents your portion of that real estate for the money that I owned, for the money that I raised. So this NFT is worth $50,000. And then if the price and the asset goes up, then the price of the NFT goes up. And then if you ever need to be liquid or whatever, something happens, just sell your NFT. Someone else buys into the asset and it's all good to go. So NFT is almost like gold. No. In the sense.
No. It's like I think of it personally as like a certificate of authenticity.
That's a good way.
Because they only make one, right?
There's one, and you
That's
can
your
use it
shit.
as a digital representation of something physical. Like you pick up a Louis Vuitton bag, maybe someday there's an NFT that's associated with it. But so I think one of the examples I used in one of my TikToks was like, you have bank.
Right? It's completely autonomous, decentralized. So no matter what happens, if you have an issue, you can place it there. If there's not an issue, you can place it there. And then I can send all the money I want, and I can see it right now. I look at it, the blockchain says it's clear. That means it's clear because nobody can fuck with the blockchain. I sent you $1 million to the house. It's over. I just made a transaction for $1 million home like that.
On crypto. Yeah,
With crypto.
crypto.
So,
Not necessarily. I mean, even have like a virtual
it's like a
real
picture. Like I don't.
so like with the blockchain, right? Call it a ledger.
Sorry guys, let's start it.
No,
Go ahead, but like I want to know. Like it's,
no, but no, seriously, that's for us newbies.
So let's consider the blockchain a ledger. And every time we write something down, no one else can erase it. It's there for the world to see. So, okay, Sally bought the house. We write it down, Sally bought the house. The entire world can see. If the entire world can see it, then if there's a lien placed on the property, you could just write it down on the ledger. There's no need for a fucking title company.
Yeah.
Well, that's true.
Everybody looks at the ledger like, okay, well, here's what's going on. Do we need to satisfy the lien? Call whoever placed the lien, go find their fucking wall or whatever.
Yep.
We address it that way. And then that way title companies will
Go
go
find their
Oh,
wallet.
yeah.
right? Like, and you can see what wallet would put it on,
Yeah.
would put the lien on whatever thing is on the blockchain.
Yep.
And so now, like, oh wow, okay, we look at it. This has been the transaction history. Here's where we are. Oh, title's clean. You just look at the fucking blockchain.
Yeah.
That took 3 seconds.
It's like title and Propstream all in one.
I mean, I wish it was like even that easy now. I mean, you can clearly see where the fucking liens are, and you still can't get it back.
Right?
Yeah.
So when you actually got to go the traditional route, it's like, what is all this? I just call the title company. They do all that. You're like, nah, I got underwriters and stuff. Yeah. Why are you trying to disqualify me all the time? That's pretty cool.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah. My name is Isaiah.
Just doing the reviews and all that stuff, and looking at, you know, what the rating is before you approve it.
Let me go
all
get
that
you a
stuff
chair.
can become a lot too. So
Yeah, definitely.
just taking something like that away, because we just hired like a full-time like cleaner, which isn't even full-time. They just got to be available from 11 to 4.
Yeah.
Right? And so from that, it's away from us having to run to the store, go this house ran out of this one, this house ran out of that. So it's just been like, phew.
Sure.
So you would definitely benefit from just posting an ad on Marketplace or something and find it and just literally make sure just follow you around. You know what I mean? See what your day to day looks like and then slowly start passing it off.
Okay.
It'll let you allow you to build.
All right.
Much different ways of
Nice to meet you.
so
I'm Stratton.
here to gather more information and see what I can do.
Guys, introduce yourselves real quick, and then we shouldn't have too many people coming here. And ask whatever questions you guys have about real estate, and we're an open book to help you guys make more money.
Yeah.
Jake Race here, local.
I turned it in, he goes downstairs, he's like, no, she wants to sell her half of it. And as soon as I hear that, I'm like, okay, this is not even fucking worth all of that. You know what I mean? And so we leave and it's becoming a big old thing, man. I guess it was the girlfriend's mom. So I was like, so what he got the whole family staying here now?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so her niece just got an attorney and was just like, you know, we'll fight it that way. Yeah. They what she's been sending me back and forth, so I'm on a real thread of her just sitting back and forth.
Is this the one where the dude moved in?
Work, he has his baby mama, you know, his girlfriend here, and she's like, she'll come home from work, her stuff's missing from her room, like her door locks. They done broke into it, like her room, taking some of her personal possessions, stuff like that. So I'm like, man, like motivation is through the roof, you know what I mean? And so we get ready to go through the house, and there's some people downstairs, and she's like, what are you guys doing? And she's like, you know, I talked to so-and-so, you know, told him we're gonna get an offer on the house, and he's here to take pictures and look at the house. And she's like, I don't think that's a good idea. She was like, you guys need to go. And so then she looks at me, she's like, don't worry about her, you know, she's not on title.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I'm standing there like, it's low key like uncomfortable, because it's like, you know, I personally, like, I'll leave, you know what I mean? But she telling me, she's one of the owners, she's telling me to take pictures of it. Meanwhile, this other lady's telling me something else. And so then she calls the guy that was talking to me and giving me a little bit of information. She's
How you doing?
always working. Good. How you doing? Good. Love your TikToks, man. Oh, thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Stash is still gnarly.
And so it was a dad and the daughter, I guess, at this house. The mom passed away. Well, the mom and the dad moved in with the daughter because they were getting older.
Yeah.
While they were there, the mom passed away, so then the dad never wanted to go back.
Yeah.
And so he wanted to sell the house. That's how I was able to get that deal. And that was literally in 2019. So then the daughter reached out to me probably about 2 weeks ago and was like, you know, hey, you still in the business? You know, she was like, you know, my aunt, you know, she inherited a house from my grandparents. They, you know, she wants to sell the house. And so you ask kind of the qualifying questions and stuff like that. And she was just like, well, the problem is my nephew is tenant in common with her. She was like, I don't know how he ended up getting on the title, but my
Yeah.
grandfather, when he passed away, he put his name and my aunt on the title.
Yeah.
And my aunt is pretty much just done with it. So we went out there. She meets me in the street like, hey, can we pray? And I was like, shit, this is a shitty situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nope, he's just gonna give it to a judge supposedly. They're gonna look at it and say, yep, makes sense, the right thing to do, give it to these people, and we should just get a quick claim deed in our name, and that's it.
That's dope.
That's what we're being told, so I don't know, yeah.
I mean, they deal with it all the time. Like, it's funny that you even say that too, because I have.
How does it work on another probate question? Say you're going through the list or you're pulling something, you get a hold of someone on the phone and you want to make them an offer, just scenario, their parents pass away, that it's going to go through probate. What's the proper paperwork or what's the next step? If they say, yeah, we'll consider a cash offer, then what do you do?
You got to see.
Like as far as getting it legal binding for your end, right?
You got to see who's able to make, who's the executor or the administrator of the estate. You got to find out who's the decision maker. Just like who owns the house. Okay, your parents passed away. Who has the courts assigned to make the decisions on behalf of the estate?
Mhm.
If it's that person, then you can fill out a contract with them.
Okay, so it's just a normal contract saying once it's put into their name, you'll have the
Well,
rights
if it's
to
not put into their name yet, then that's not a legally binding contract because they don't even own the home, or they can't even make decisions on the home yet. So you might as well just go get a contract with the bum on the street,
Got it.
right? Because it's not even their house yet. They don't even have the power to sell it.
So you're not doing any paperwork until they actually put it in their name.
Yep. You
Got
just
it.
need to talk to them and find out pretty much what's first and foremost. Get all the facts,
Oh,
right?
so this is what you're saying, that someone could just come up with another offer if they're promised you, it's yours, Mr. Butler, and then he comes in and says 10 grand more, this guy's offering you 20, I'll give you 30, whatever.
They can sit there and negotiate all they want to. At the end of the day, we need to know who can make the decision.
Got it.
I need the decision maker, and then how are we going to go about getting this property?
Who's the executor of the estate?
They should have something called the letters of administration, which you'll have to turn that into title anyway. So
Shit. I can't even, it wasn't Lotus. It was on the west side. And they had that older lady that I kept going to the apartments off of Martin Luther King. And I kept trying to get a hold of her. She's like, I'm not selling it. My husband didn't want to sell it. And da, da. And she was like, the dad who he didn't own the house, but he had not a living trust. It was where they can live there, but they don't own it anymore. What do they call that?
A lease option.
No, where it's like he can live there throughout the time of his life, basically. I forget what they call that. How do I like to say? It was something like that, basically, where he could initiate wanting to sell it, but at the end of the day, his children were the ones who had to sign off on the sale along with him. And so all the children were on board, and the one child who had passed away married some woman that none of the family fucked with. And so I'm going to this lady's house trying to talk to her, and she's like, fuck all of them. And I'm like, oh my goodness. And I got to get her on board in order to even get this house.
Got it.
And she's cussing out every sibling because she's like, you guys are trying to fuck me out of this money. You know what I mean? I'm not selling it to nobody. And I'm just like, I must have kissed so much ass. And she'd say, come back on Saturday. Or she'd just look out the window and won't come to the door. And she'd be like, come back on Saturday. So then I go on Saturday and she's like, what the fuck are you doing here? And I'm like, oh my goodness. Like, remember, like I brought you bread.
Yeah.
And so like, fuck, that was a wild one. Her caregiver was like her niece, and she was hella hood. And so like reaching out to her, like, look, if you're able to get her to sign this document at the end of this deal, like I'll pay you $5,000. Because it was like a $50,000 deal. And so I was just passing out equity. Like, I give you $5,000. You drive her down to the title company. I'm not sending a notary. She needs to go there.
I remember that one.
And then they got there, remember? And she went inside and she didn't have her ID. I'm like, there's no fucking way she's coming back. I'm like, there's no fucking way. It was, bro, with the day that Lupe told me that she signed, I was like, it was wild, man. It was.
Yeah, you deal with the worst type. I feel like
Those hard ones are the big checks, though.
and the hard ones are the big checks, like those
big
hairy
checks.
ones with all those shitty people because no one else wants to deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you're gonna make the most money. Like with all the title issues and everything else, that's where you're gonna make like the really, really big checks. Because there's such a pain, and everyone's like, man, fuck this bitch. I'm not. I refuse. Excuse my language, miss. But like, I refuse to deal with it because it gets so frustrating because you deal with a lot of people, and like we deal with crazy houses. Crazy houses come with crazy ass people.
I love it though.
Yeah, I don't love it.
I love people, so like I just whatever.
Facebook.
Partners.
Well, yeah, I mean, I built a buyer's list, but not.
Just bring it to me.
No,
So
you need to learn the skill of building a buyer's
no,
list.
you don't.
I would tell you go on Propstream, pull all the cash buyers, call them all. Facebook, dummy ads. Butler's gonna keep telling you like, oh no, let's partner up. Why not keep some more money in your pocket instead of money?
Here's my theory. Year one, goal of 100 grand, made 100 grand. Year two, we're able to do a little bit more deals, but still, I mean, you're handling all aspects of that. Yes, you can continue to build buyers lists and you can do all this stuff. This past year was the year that I decided I'm just gonna JV every freaking deal. And that JVing every deal turned into literally just making it a partnership, because that was my number one thing too. Like, man, like I can make 20 grand on this deal, then I'm a JV with someone and make 10 grand, but then that person goes and sells it for 40 grand, and now I made 20 off of it. So then it was like, oh, let's just do that again, until it got to a point to where I went back and looked at my numbers, and I mean, the difference between year two and year three, and I did a whole lot less work. And I freaking you go from almost like 240 to like $500,000 this year. You know what I mean? Like, and that was doing less work. I had more time this year, and I was able to really focus on a skill of generating leads. I didn't have to go on all the appointments. I didn't have to comp all the damn deals. Yeah, it's great to have that skill. You know what I mean? I leaned on it pretty damn heavy, but shit, I mean, when I look back at it, I was like, shit, I need to lean a little bit more.
Yeah.
So it's really what you want out of the business. I have no aspirations on being a multi-million-dollar wholesaling business. I needed to be able to generate enough money to fund some flips, fund purchasing some rentals, fund getting some more Airbnbs, because ultimately I'm not getting rich off of wholesaling, but that's going to fund everything else that's going to make me rich.
Market. All right, like, I mean, because like it comes up, dude. Like me and Mike did deals in other states, and we had to fucking good.
How much you made on that one deal we did in India? What was that?
We did like 2 different deals in Indiana. We made like $2 grand each because we had like no buyers list, and we had to JV. But just knowing how to have that conversation, build up the buyers list, and then be able to, yes, Mike has, and we both, our company uses them to display our stuff, but I have a completely different business model, and I legitimately work 30 minutes in that company.
The fucking Monday meeting.
Yeah, and I work in a Monday meeting, and I have a 30-minute meeting in that, and then I have a 30-minute meeting with my lead section of the fucking country, and I want to sell a deal. It pays to be able to know how to find buyers, bring in buyers, and go display that bitch. And like when you get to a certain level, dude, and you're giving up 50% of all revenue, and because like he still could go build the same machine, like he may not think he can, but business acumen may be a little bit different than where you're at. I would still tell you that I developed the skill to be able to build buyers, and it'll pay off. I know it'll pay off.
Develop the skill.
Develop the skill.
Try to do it. Maybe just JV it with somebody and then like ask them to be a part of it.
Or I mean, you can even still push back on companies and be like, hey, bro, 50% is too much. Like I can't do it.
Yeah.
Like if you do it, and for me, I wouldn't because it's such a good deal. Right? It just doesn't make sense. But like for some companies, I have friends who are in different states who they dispo through Keegly, and they're like, I'm not giving you 50%. I had to work hard for this bitch. I had to work real hard for this. Like, because you work really, really, really hard to get those contracts signed, bro. You're giving up 50% of your revenue? They better be selling it at 90%. And when I say 90%, like 90% ARV, or it may not make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because like, again, when we look at the end of the year and we left half of our revenue on the table. And then like, the worst thing is like when you know the buyers, that's when it's bad. I would tell you to learn how to display yourself. Hey, you know what? We couldn't get it sold, send it to someone else. Now it's money you captured that you didn't even have before. You're better off. That's the way I do it.
I've sent the lead out to my buyers list. Didn't get the shit sold. Fucking
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's like
The MLS for investors.
Yeah, it's the app you need.
Yeah.
Use promo code STRAT. No, Easy Breeze Data.
This
Yeah.
month. He
Yeah.
doesn't even do wholesale.
Yeah, I do. What do you mean?
Ask him. Ask him when's the last time he analyzed a single family residence?
I had to look at one today. We're gonna make 10 grand. Thank you very much.
What information is it
What do
giving
they give you?
What's
7
the-
days?
Yeah, it's like a 7-day free trial.
Yeah.
Easy Breeze Data. Use it. Yeah. We're gonna put that on Facebook. Facebook ads over and over and over again. But it's
You really want to know, just reach out to me.
it pretty much just allows you to pull big lists and niche lists of like, hey, I don't think a lot of their niche stuff is really good. Like their tax lien info is dog shit.
It's outdated.
It's really outdated. But like as far as like their high equity stuff and all that other good stuff, it's really good.
Like more the bulk? Or the
And
entity
running
owners?
comps.
Okay.
You're a realtor, so you don't really need it, but I think Propstream's comps are fire.
Really?
Well, I will say with the MLS, is it nationwide?
No.
No.
You have to have access to those
Yeah.
counties to be able to
But
do
he-
it.
No. To use their local MLS?
Yeah, but
No, I mean there's a national.
Propstream
Yeah.
is literally it's nationwide.
okay.
So I can see fucking anywhere. You know what I mean? And so I think that to me that's what was awesome, because now you're talking about nationwide wholesaling or whatever it may be, or purchasing property, being able to evaluate something. Someone's like, hey, people say it all the time. Hey, do you buy properties in Chicago?
Yes.
I haven't, but you know I'm not going to say no. I'll look at anything.
Yeah.
And they'll send it to me. I'll pull it up, kind of see what's selling in the area, where would you like to be, and just based off what I know about investing, like if it's $100,000 house and they're saying, hey, I want 40 grand.
That's why you need
That could
to
be
know how to build a buyer's list, because you're going to get a random ass lead in Chicago, and then someone's going to send it to you.
Yes.
And then you're going to go and be like, oh, you know what? I don't know, but I've made money by someone sending me a lead in Timbuktu, and I'm like, that number works right there. Let's do it like that. And I go and I find a buyer and I put it together.
Propstream, you type in cash, look for cash sales in the area.
And you need to be comfortable having conversations with more sophisticated people.
That's true. There you
Are
go.
you getting information that's better than like Vulcan or Redx? Have you used any of those?
Yeah,
programs?
those are dog shit.
Really?
Those are dog shit.
Propstream is just so great. I've never looked at another chick. Mainlinecomps.com.
Aren't built for
Get on Propstream.
I mean they're just built for cold calling, but I mean
Ryan is. He has, they have a bot builder in their mastermind, and that bot builder, like they build a certain bot to go scrub whatever courthouse you have.
Now that's a product.
Yeah.
$1,000 is a fucking steal when you sell it to fucking 100 people, and he just made a freaking 100 grand off of a bot that probably takes him this much to do, and it's a steal for me.
Yeah, I mean, and that's like something you could do that's pretty cool. Or you can, our company does have data managers that'll just do it for you, and it's an affordable rate.
So just let them know I sent you. Yeah.
But like a bot,
Hey, how'd you get a data manager? How'd you guys come up like with that concept?
it wasn't you.
I don't want credit for it. I just
Bro,
want
that's
to say,
all.
like,
Bro, that's Chase. How are you gonna take away the one thing that Chase thrives in?
why are we recording?
But so like when you get bigger, you're gonna need someone. I do think this is really important to like manage all of your data and like set up all your marketing, just like an administrative role, and that'll help out a lot.
We had a conversation. He's always asked me, because he was just growing, right? Because they started the whole cold calling and stuff like that, the VAs and just all that shit. And he would just always ask, like, when we hop on the phone, he's just like, you know, like, what do you need help with? And I was like, bro, like, I got these cold callers. I think we're up to like 2 or 3 of them at the time, and I'm like, they're just burning through fucking data. And they're like, hey, I don't have it, you know, campaigns up, we need more data, and I'd be out like driving for dollars or something, so then I got to go build a list or send them the list, but make sure that it's scrubbed, and I was just literally just throwing fucking data at them. The call wasn't stacking it, wasn't scrubbing it, you know what I mean? And so I was like, if there was someone, and I had just bought REI Sift, and I was like, I love it, but it's way too analytical for me, and I'll fall asleep as I'm watching these videos. I'm not understanding the buckets and the vacants and the fucking, it's too much for me. If you guys have VAs that you specifically trained on freaking REI Sift, that learned, that knew how to just do all this stuff, and you sold that as a product, like fucking, you know what I mean? Like there's a difference in a lot of people's business because you're not efficient with your data. And so you go and you pay for it, you know, and literally I sit on the phone or I sit on Skype sometimes and he'll tell me through the data, and sometimes it's like literally, all right, well, where we at? You know, but I can see what lists that we're tracking, how many times we've called this list, how many times how many people were contacted each one. We got a list of 1,000 records. And on the first attempt, we got a hold of, 300 of them. The second one, we got a hold of 50. So now we're at 250. This one, we got a hold of 100. And now we get to the end of that road, and there's still like 500 people that we still haven't touched. So now what's the next step? Like, well, let's start texting them. Who do we get a hold of? We don't get a hold of them. Now let's direct mail them. Whereas before you'll have a list of 20,000 records, and you're just throwing it and recycling that list on call tools, and you're calling it, and you're like, damn, I done ran through this list like 5-10 times. You know what I mean? I need more data. Realistically, you only reach probably 5,000 people on that list of 20,000. So what happened to the other 15,000? You're just inefficient. And so that's what, you guys doing that data management really saved me, because now I know I'm using every damn inch of my data.
Right. Put that before the class?
Oh, fuck yeah.
If you have time, do it.
100%. Do it until you can't no more. That's the best list that you can get, because nobody has it.
Yeah, no, that's okay. Nobody has that list, but I would build it, and while I'm building it, I would be like cold calling actively, because driving for dollars isn't anything, but just like, again, data aggregation.
It's pulling the list.
Right, you're just pulling the list, and it's a really teeth pulling way to pull the
It's
list.
not even a marketing channel.
No, it's not a market, like people talk about it as a marketing channel, it's not.
Driving dollars is just
More money.
like you can JV, you probably got a flip over there and probably still make like 60 grand on it.
So,
You can JV over here, you're gonna make like 15,
this
20.
last property,
you're not in it.
we
You're not in
pay 100,
You're good.
like 150K in 3 months.
I'm here
Yeah.
with the money that
Yeah, because
the lenders that
close
you
to
got.
100K over there for one property. With that 100K, I can do probably like 6-7 property here and make $30,000 each one.
Yeah.
Probably a little more money, but a little more work. More a lot more work.
Yeah.
Because you're managing 7 properties now. So that's the difference.